Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another rider, another day, another story. Today we are privileged to have a guy who's been testing COVID-19. Yes, you heard me right. I have to say that quite quiet because I don't want YouTube to take down this episode again. But anyway, he's going to tell us what it's like being a COVID tester in his industry. So welcome today, Bob.
Hi, it's great to give this interview to you.
Okay, so what's a typical day like for you?
I think that the voice recorder is gone off.
No, it's on.
Okay. Well, I have to get up quite early to go to work, to be honest. Not as early as you. And then we have to collect the samples that they send to us from the government and prepare them for processing. I cannot say what the process is. Okay. But it's a lot of work. It can be a little bit tiring, let's say. But yes, PP is number one.
Okay. Tell me something. See this COVID, obviously you got people who believe in it, people who don't believe in it. Yeah. Obviously you know it's around or you because you work with it. What when you look under that microscope thing that they show in the movies, what does it do? What is it doing to other, I don't know, human flesh or whatever you test it on? What is it actually doing? Can you describe that for us?
Well, I'm not a specialist on this kind of department, but I can give you a very, very generic answer. I mean, viruses have been existing for so many years now, and this is another strain. Maybe it's not as deadly as Ebola, for example, but the virus has to find a nice balance between mortality and reproductivity. Yes, because if it kills too much, then the virus will extend and cannot continue spreading around. If it kills too little, then that's perfect. The party goes on. Maybe for the biggest proportion of people it's nothing, let's say, deadly, but there is this kind of minority groups that can be affected. The only reason why there is this is how I get it, but don't hang from my words. If too many people at the same time get sick, these minorities, because when you compare 8 billion people, it's a lot, and the facilities and the resources are not a lot. That's the issue. Maybe yes, you will not get COVID, or you will not get sick, you will not get illness too severely, but those who will, and if they happen all that at the same time, because we opened everything and the world is functioning properly and we go and meet everybody, and then it's spreading around. And how are they gonna cope with what kind of resources and what kind of capacity, hospital capacity? And they do not wanna, let's say, reject anybody from coming into the hospital. That's the main issue. Maybe you and I will be fine, but what about the other people?
Some people would say that many people who get COVID are told to stay at home anyway, so they're okay. It's a minority who actually really need to go to hospital and at a certain stage. Would that be fair? Is that fair?
I'm not sure whether I'm the right person to answer that.
You can give your own opinion, Bob. Okay. Okay. Bob, alright, so tell us, Bob, you come from overseas?
Yes.
Let's say where?
Yeah.
And what did you study?
Genetics.
Genetics?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're a ninja scientist then? Okay. Okay.
Well, there are not many. I mean, there's lots of people who like genetics, but in the life sciences, many of them, they find it a little bit too much, or like I find too much in your science. I do not like your science as such. I mean, I assume it's personal preferences.
Okay, so you're saying in the industry you study, there's not many people who are specialists at that?
No, I wouldn't say that. Maybe there's much more microbiologists than geneticists.
Can you explain the difference, please?
Well, microbiologists are those who are doing any kind of samples for any kind of disease or STDs or stuff like that. I'm trying to keep it simple, otherwise.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. You're trying to do layman's.
Well, but every kind of speciality, it's so broad itself. For example, me having studying genetics, I can go for genetic counselor. So for kids that have developmental disorders or something that happened with the child, and the parents come to me and they want to see, okay, what's wrong? What can we do about it? For genetic disorders, there is the clinical scientist that you can follow the genomics path, and basically you are the other end of the genetic counselor. You are the one who's doing the testing, while the genetic counselor is doing the problem solving. Mm-hmm. Although maybe it's not a correct sentence in the way that I did it, but okay. Yes, they collaborate to find the answer. Okay. The one is in the lab, the other one is mostly in the office or in the hospital. Okay. You can be in virology, you can be in epidemiology. With genetics, you can do a lot of stuff. Or you can do agriculture for plants and create, let's say, better strains.
Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting. What made you want to get into this industry?
That's an interesting question. I think it's from high school. I didn't exactly know what I liked back then, but biology was the only thing that really kept me interested. And then when we kind of arrived to the more genetic kind of parts of the chapter, let's say, and about DNA, RNA, and all this kind of stuff, which back then it seemed wow to me. I was like, okay, here we are. We got this. And then I came to the UK, I did my bachelor's, and then I was lucky that I ended up liking it, because there's many people who, they're like, I like psychology, I like genetics, but the moment that they study it, they regret it. And I have lots of friends who have regretted studying what they studied. Okay,
so you studied in your country?
I studied here.
I studied
here?
Both
degrees, yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, were you able to get work experience during your studies, or did you have to be fully qualified and then get work experience?
There's options. The one is the Bachelor's of Science, which is the 3-year studies with no work experience in between, and there is the sandwich, which is the MSI, and that you can get 1 year of industry or 1 year of work experience in the university. It depends.
Okay, so that's masters. MSI is a master's.
MSI is like an integrated master's in the bachelor's, while MSc, Master of Science, is let's say it's more individual, more isolated. It's the one degree is different from the other. It's not integrated.
How do you think? Because obviously that's a common issue there, where people study something, spend loads of thousands of pounds on it, and realise this isn't for them. Do you think it's wiser that everybody does an introductory month work experience in some form of employment, even if it's voluntarily?
For sure.
And then so they can make a real informed decision whether this is for them?
Definitely. I mean, even I don't really know where I would like to end up. I'm between some choices. I would like to go on a PhD, or I would like to go onto the NHS to take different routes. but if you do not try, you will never know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Okay, yeah, because you're still in the medical field.
Yes, because I happened to be lucky to like what I did. But if you do not know at all what you want to do, that's a different kind of...
Tell me something. When this COVID, has it got a, like some products you could use at certain, they got temperature limits and temperature, so there's a temperature where it doesn't affect, where it's too cold, and there's a temperature where it can't affect because it's too hot or it dies out. Is there a temperature thing like that, or is it just...
Yeah, one of the steps if you want to inactivate and kill the virus before you do any extra analysis, any further analysis, you have to either chemically inactivate it or by putting it into an oven or a heat block or something like that. So either by heat or by chemicals, you can kill the virus.
Do you know what the temperature is by heat?
It depends. It depends on where you put it. Do you put it in an oven? Do you put it on a dry block? There's different protocols for different procedures. There's no one way of doing things.
Okay. So why I ask is obviously there's many hot countries in the world, really hot countries, where they said the COVID hasn't really affected them per se. And I put it down to, obviously with my layman knowledge, that it must be the heat. Maybe. In that climate, because I remember I used to live in Kenya. It used to be so hot that you could just boil an egg. You could break an egg and it will cook. It's like that. Just because it's so hot. So I was thinking maybe that's the same thing with the COVID, that it's just dying, and just like that really. But
maybe there is a factor, but I cannot really answer that because first of all, I'm not an epidemiologist. Second of all, I'm not an immunologist or a virologist.
Okay.
It's a completely different field. I know very generic stuff. Sorry to disappoint.
Okay. Well, it's just me throwing my theories, my layman taxi theories out.
Yeah.
In that respect. So what does the future hold for you, Bob?
Well, good luck to all of us. No, in terms of let's all get back to normal, and then let's just go with the flow.
Yeah, but for you as a what you do, what does a career-wise, what does the future hold for you? Are you going to stay in this industry? Are you going to move on?
You mean in this specific industry, or something related to my field?
Well, both.
What I'm doing now is something temporary. At some point, this is gonna end, sooner or later. And this is, of course, not exactly what I would like to do. I mean, it's a really great job. I'm learning new stuff every day, new techniques, new machines to operate, good for the CV, things that I've never used before. And I'm enjoying it. But I would like something more exciting, something more, let's say, I don't know, inventive, something more novel.
Have you had COVID yet?
No, actually I haven't had the antibody test, so I cannot know.
Oh, okay.
I've had lots of tests throughout the last 6 months, and all of them were negative, so I assume no. But you never know.
Okay.
Maybe it was before that, in the beginning.
All right. And the last question that I ask all the listeners, what's the impact you want to have on the world? You're a man who's making major changes with your testing. You must want to make some kind of impact.
I'm gonna give a very vague answer. I don't know. Well, since I was little, I always expected that. I always felt that there's something big is gonna happen, and I'm gonna be involved in it. I do not know what exactly, but the more the year passed, the more I realized that okay, something is happening now. Something's getting better and better over the years. I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. Yeah, it's just the stepping stone, what I'm doing now. But you never know. I want to be ambitious. Let's see what the future holds.
Now, one last question I have to throw in here.
Okay.
You could. Everybody talking about how we can save ourselves from COVID, but no one's talking about where COVID came from. Mm-hmm. In your professional opinion, anonymous as this interview is, where do you think COVID came from? Some people say it's man-made, some people say it's bats, some people would just think it just appeared. What's your opinion?
If I say it's man-made, it's not because they made it in the laboratory. I would say it's because of what we're doing to the planet.
Okay.
Overpopulation.
Overpopulation?
Overpopulation is one of the reasons, I would say. Because we have so many animal farms. We have thousands, actually millions and millions of animals all gathered together. And different species sometimes. I do not know how this works, but I'm just giving you theories, potential theories. And all this...
you mean confined together?
Yes, because for a virus to survive throughout different generations, let's say, it has to go through lots of bottlenecks. Maybe it will start as 1, it will go to 1 million, then it will go down to 3 if it wants to change to a body, I don't know. This is random numbers, right?
Yep.
So, in order to pass from me to you, it has to go through lots of protection that there is between us. And only like few of them will survive, and if they survive, then they can start reproducing. It's when you have so many animals together, then you're increasing the possibilities of this kind of jump to happen between the species.
Okay.
And it's not as easy to go from one species to the other, to go from a human, from a bat to a human, for example. But there is a phenomenon where 2 different viruses, they can get inside you and they can make a different strain, a new strain. If you have B and I have A, we can make an AB, but that's a different kind of story. We're just abusing nature, I think. And that's the payback.
So when you say it's overpopulation, I'm always very skeptical when people tell me about overpopulation. And the only reason I give my personal opinion on this is that I've travelled quite a lot, and I realise that I'm not disputing what you're saying about the animals living together on mass farming. I think mass farming in that sense is not a good thing. They should all be in the fields and run around and do what they're doing, and then the farmer has to do a bit more work and go and catch them or do whatever he's doing. But in the sense of our overpopulation, the planet, the problem is really, it's like, for instance, when people come to London, people come to England, everyone wants to be in London. Do you see what I mean? So the dead, and this is what David Attenborough, I think, was talking about, where he said everybody wants to live in the big cities, even the people who live in the countryside. So that's more of the overpopulation. It's not that there's not enough land.
Of course,
but if people spread out, then...
Yeah, but the resources are limited. You cannot just keep abusing something and thinking that, it's gonna come back, it's gonna regenerate. It's not always the case. You have to give it some time to...
recycle.
Exactly.
Naturally recycle. I'd like water. I understand what you're saying, because we use the Thames water and we shouldn't. We should find a natural spring, things like that. But it's been a great interview with you, Bob. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And we wish you well on your COVID testing.
Thank you very much.
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.